Did I get it yet? Was I early?
You was
We're
early,
here
but it's all
now.
right. Yeah.
We're here now. What's up, guys? Casey and George back with the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. Missed a week last week. We had some things going on, but we're back this week. We almost were going to miss this week, George, but we had some technical issues that got solved last minute. It's all good. You know, we always have to be here. We can't miss multiple weeks because we got to thank those people that help us out. TSR Racing Products, Champs Performance Parts. Use code GBR over there. Get yourself a little bit of a discount, by the way. BRG 3D printed parts, always helping us out with everything. Syntex printing, making our banners, stickers, things we give out to you guys for free. Whenever we see you at the track, definitely come and see us. If you need some GBR stickers, Syntex always hooks it up. Driven Racing Oil, use the code GBR10. Get yourself 10% off your order. I know Dylan Champion did that a little bit earlier this week, get a little bit more of that driven oil. Proform Parts. Visit proformparts.com. Get yourself some carburetors like the one that I reviewed last week. So you did have a little bit of something to watch last week. Watch that carb review video, man. That thing was pretty nice. I got it all kind of pulled apart and everything. So I do a little in-depth, just talking about kind of what all's going on in there and some of the nice features they have going on at proformparts.com. And then, of course, Crew Chief Pro software, which you'd probably be using a whole lot of if you were out there in Vegas right now at the Spring Fling, George.
That's a fact, man. That's a fact. Get those good weather predictions out there in the desert. I heard it's pretty windy out there too. And if it is, well, turn on that wind prediction too, because Crew Chief Pro seems to have it all lined out for you. It'll guess for you. It ain't really guessing. It's making a hypothesis, is what I would like to use as the scientific term. So definitely go over there to Crew Chief Pro. I see a lot of people here and there asking what's the best weather station to use, even for a junior program. You know, Don will have answers for you. Head over there to Crew Chief Pro. Check him out. Tell him GBR sent you, for crying out loud. So, Case,
Absolutely, man.
what
Let
we
them
got
know
going on
that
today, man?
Man, obviously this is going to be a lot of talk about the Spring Fling, just like every other podcast you're going to listen to this week's going to be talking about the Spring Fling. But I want to talk about PDRA real quick, man, because I want to tell you something that blew my mind, which was the top sportsman #1 qualifier. I can't remember the guy's name, but I'm pretty sure he qualified like 377 with a 1. Now, we know that's fast, but let me tell you this. Jay Cox, who's one of the fastest nitrous cars definitely out here, but kind of in the country. Jay Cox was qualified #1 in Pro Nitrous with, I think, like a 363. So a top sportsman car almost would have made it into the Pro Nitrous field.
Jeez.
And then it took 399 just to get in the Fast 16. And the top dragster field, #13 qualifier, top dragster elite, would not have made it into the elite top sportsman field.
Christmas.
399.
So, where was that race at? Was that at Galat?
That was at Galat.
Out there flying on that good track with probably very good air. Seemingly, it's just that time of year where we get some really good air out here. Daniel Woodruff, I see you out there, man. What's up? Thanks for joining us. Cody Newman, I see you as well, man. Make sure you get some of those YouTubes out there, Casey. But man, seemingly, I didn't get a chance to watch that. I can't remember where I took my boys to, but definitely didn't get a chance to tune in to any drag racing this weekend. So thanks for filling me in on that, Casey. But seems like everybody was flying pretty good. That's the class you're gonna run any of that PDRA stuff with your new car?
I don't think I can keep up with them, man. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. I mean, I think in Dad's car we might be able to run 399 once, but I don't know if it'll do it a second time. If you know what I mean, it'd need all the boost to do that. But yeah, man, another thing, speaking of fast cars, NHRA announced a couple days ago head and neck restraints will be required, meaning like Hans device, stuff like that, those hybrid type deals if you go over 150 mile an hour, period, which is going to be a whole lot of fast dragsters. I mean, you're pretty much at 150 mile an hour when you're in the 450s for the most part anymore. What do you think about that?
I like it. But let me caveat something real quick here, because I was reading through Facebook and I want to send us prayers out to the Phillips family here in Texas. I guess I saw that their house may have had an electrical fire, And certainly that's part of the bracket racing community. That's our family there. So prayers go out to the Phillips family here in Texas. Hope you guys get back on your feet. I hear pretty much everything might have been a total loss there. So hate to hear it, guys, and reach out if you need anything, and if I can help, I will. So wanted to throw that out there before I move into the NHRA neck restraints, or Hans' device, whatever the case. Seems like NHRA got one right. Okay, and let's hope it stays that way, and it doesn't end up as you and I'm just going to say it right off, being a money grab, to where you got to get it recertified every 2 years and this other nonsense just to find another way in everybody's pocket. I love the thought of being safe, okay, but you can stay out of my pocket while I'm being safe. I mean, those things are going to last seemingly. I can understand if maybe there's a wreck and you want to take one out of the rotation just as you would with a helmet, and
Right.
make sure it's inspected and you ain't getting this one back, so you got to buy another one. I get that, right? But a brand new Hans device, no scratches, no wear and tear even showing on that thing, because the life of that thing may not see a full year. You know what I mean? As far as for
Right.
how many times we go out racing. So
Yeah.
hopefully it doesn't turn into that. But I like the rule.
Yeah, man, it's kind of one of those things where I'm on the same page as you, as long as it doesn't turn into something we need to get recertified, like transmission cases that may sit in the corner as a spare and never be used, and now all of a sudden they're out of certification, so they're somehow junk. Or seat belts, and same deal. You're building a car over all these years, maybe you run out of money or something, and a car sits in the corner for 2 years, and now all of a sudden it needs seat belts because somehow they're junk. That doesn't make any sense to me. But if it's simply we care about the drivers, no problem with it. I have no problem with it whatsoever.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, shout out to Lorenzo Martin from the North Carolina Bracket Racing page. You guys show some love over there at that page. He does a great job. Hey, really good with camera too. I didn't realize, Lorenzo, man, you got quite a bit of skill behind that camera. I scroll through those pictures quite a bit to see if I can't grab maybe a picture or two to use on the Going Bracket Racing podcast. So special shout out there. Jerry McCracken, what's going on, man? North Florida Motorplex at 418. Oh, wow. Okay, so somebody out there was flying at North Florida Motorplex. I think my old man and my uncle may have been there just this past Saturday. I know they were out there somewhere because they come out to Florida to live their retirement life for about 3 months out of the year. So that's pretty neat, Jerry. But Casey.
Yeah, man. We might as well get into this Spring Clean Million talk, man.
Let's do that.
I've already watched the first round of the Dragster Shootout, as I'm sure most people that are on here right now have. We got 16 cars left here. James Warden, Troy Williams Jr., KB, Colton Aragon, John Edwards III, Gary Williams in a red overkill car. They must put a new car in the stable over there now. So it's nice looking, man. It almost looks like it's not a carbon body, but it's like it kind of looks like carbon fiber. You know how it turns different colors?
Is it a Folk car?
I don't know.
Does it look brand new? Because I know Folk was building the car, but I don't know who he built it for.
Yeah, I think the Cummings might be buying some cars from
That's
the folks,
correct.
but I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, Nick will be driving his own stuff, and Nick's going to win in anything. Dylan Howe, Don Sefton, Shane Molinari, who went 423 at 167 in Vegas. Curtis Allen, Chris Galletti, the lone door car that's left now, went 508, so he must have put a bigger motor in that car too, because I'm pretty sure it was going 20s and 30s.
No, he stepped on it. Yep.
Yeah, Jim Glenn, Andy Taylor, Greg Christensen, Shane Thompson, and Dustin Long. Chris Galletti needs to, see, here's the thing. This is normally when I would make a joke and I'd say, man, this door car driver needs a dragster. All the rest of y'all don't need one. Chris Galletti's got like 17 dragsters or something.
Yeah,
and this is how he usually gets them.
Yeah, I was shocked you didn't say old Corey Galletti in the race.
Yeah.
There's a Galletti in it, but I'm shocked it ain't Corey. Everybody knows he's the free race car bandit. You might as well just go ahead and load it up in their stacker and just call the race off, do something else. Because generally speaking, he gonna win it. Not this time, I guess.
Tell you what, the last one that Corey won, he's definitely got his money's worth out of it. I mean, he won the car. Obviously, he put his own motor in it and all that stuff, and he's won a ton of races with that car. He almost won the championship at VMP last year with it, too. So, and I'm pretty sure that motor, at least last I saw, might still be for sale, that Fast 420 motor that's in that dragster. But here's something that's very interesting about whenever we go racing on the West Coast, George. This is the land of really all the racing there is other than Spring Fling Vegas, for the most part, is index-style racing and NHRA racing. So this is the land of the throttle stops. In fact, I saw a Corvette Roadster in time runs go 660 at 131 miles an hour.
Oh yeah, you know what that is. You know what that is. Hey, since we're on the .90 topic, dot shout out Jessica Bogacki winning the
Yes.
race. Great job that day. That's what I'm talking about. Holding up that Wally. Looks like your kid was pretty happy there, and I'm pretty sure old Luke was happy as well. So shout out Jessica on winning that race. That's pretty good stuff there. But Casey, man, you're right, man. Out there on the left coast, it seems to be a lot of those .90 racers out there. And I'm still with Gleghorn when it comes to winning some of these big bracket races, until I'm proven wrong. With the fact that left coast isn't coming to St. Louis and winning the OG, it ain't happening. So
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man.
I had to throw that out there. Hey, Jimmy
So,
Nobles, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming in here. Got some pretty good questions out of Michael Beard if you want to hit those real quick on the YouTube side there, Casey. And then we'll get
Yeah.
back to who your money's on here in a minute at that spring fling.
So Michael Beard's always got stuff thinking. And by the way, Staging Light, I believe, has their first race at Darlington. I want to say next week at 10/20/10 for $400. I'm pretty sure. And I know a lot of people going down to that. I'm
Nice.
pretty sure it might be an all door car deal. He'll have to correct me if I'm wrong on that, but
Nice.
I know my buddies that have door cars are going. Michael Beard, 2-year deal on belt sucks, but how would tracks test the quality of those belts? Yep, no, that is true. That's a good point, but
But time
at
out
the
though.
same time,
Yeah. Go
well,
ahead.
I was talking to a guy the other day that, and this is all hearsay. You know, I don't see his ID, his work ID or whatever, but he said he worked for Boeing and his job was legitimately testing seat belts. And he tested a lot of seat belts in Vietnam era helicopters that have been rained on, been over there, sitting, like some of them been sitting in the mud for a bunch of years or whatever. And he would bring them back and stress test them. And he said even after he cut them 3/4 of the way through, they still would pass SFI specs. So, like I said, that's all hearsay, but that's coming from a guy that claims he works at Boeing, and that's supposedly what his job is. So that would be my rebuttal for that. But I do agree with what you're saying there, though.
And here's the way to test them too, in my opinion. It all goes back to the car accidents. You know, luckily and God willing, we don't begin to see more wrecks within the bracket racing community, but they're few and far between, thankfully, right? And if a car is wrecked, then cut the seatbelt. Just cut it. You already take the helmet. You're gonna take the Hans device likely. Just cut the seatbelt, because otherwise, what else is there need? What else needs to be tested if the seatbelts have never been put through a test anyway?
Right.
So I think the only way to really track it and get rid of that rule is just if you see a car that's been in an accident, make it practice to cut the seatbelt. Just cut them.
I think
Then you can't reuse wrecked seatbelts anymore.
I think that's one of the few things that on a race car you can literally visually inspect.
That's
Because
fact.
if they look like they're old and sun faded and stuff, then clearly they're compromised. But if they look brand new, I can't see how they would be compromised. And it doesn't matter because ultimately that rule is never going to get changed. It's just like anything. Once a rule becomes law, your chances to make it not become a law to begin with. Once it does, you're screwed. You're
That's
never
true.
getting it back.
That's true.
So-
And I kind of agree with Cody Newman here. He thinks the sun is more of what is screwing out or kind of messing up the belts in the cars. You know, I understand that, you know, in some cars that aren't door cars, you know. Generally speaking, those door cars, there ain't going to be that much sun getting on them in the first place. You know, you get in there and the buckle might be hot. You better watch your arm in case you burn, you know, 3rd-degree burns on your arms, but that's about it.
T-Bird Racer over here, T-Bird Racer 460, so he's serious. My belts are 4 passes my belts have 4 passes on them. I just replaced them, and garage kept not faded. That's the same thing that I'd say. Michael Beard says there is a SFI test on YouTube showing seatbelt testing, so I will have to go check that out. Maybe it'll change my mind. I don't know.
Yeah.
But let's get back to the topic at hand here, George.
Yeah.
Spring Fling Million. Spring Fling Million in Las Vegas specifically being one of the first mega money races of the entire year always seems like it sets the trend, in my opinion, for big money bracket racing and what it's going to be for the year. And I don't know if that's necessarily because, you know, Peter is pretty much the gold standard of the promotional series, Peter and Kyle combined in the Spring Fling brand. But also, it is one of the first races of the year. But I can tell you right now, the Spring Fling, they hand their own stickers out for your car numbers whenever you come in. It's like, A, B, C, D, and then a number. The number usually denotes the entry number, I think. So if that's true, I saw 717 on a guy's car in a picture earlier. So does that mean there's 717 entries out there right now?
Wow, is all I gotta say.
I mean,
Now, would I doubt it? Do I doubt? No, I don't doubt that for 1 second. Not for 1 second. I've been browsing the internet, seeing the overflow lot full of rigs, and catching Drag Champ on with his video showing the cars pulling in, and it ain't gonna shock me if there's 700 entries in the 30s, and it won't shock me on the other side of that if there's 500 entries in the big one, So it just goes to show, and I'm sure everybody in this lobby, in this community, you and I both, Casey, can attest to this. If there was a race that we could hit throughout the year, if we could pick, of course OG's up there, but so is Vegas. I've never even been to Vegas, so it would be even better to go to Vegas to bracket race and then enjoy Vegas while I'm there, right? Right. Not to mention, you're going to be in Vegas with, if there's 700 entries, at least 500 bracket racers on the premises. We're going to be able to find something to do as a community in Vegas. So it's going to make it that much more fun. Like, have you ever gone out overseas and maybe to Mexico and just done it with your wife or your friend? Well, it's fun with your wife. Now, my wife probably watches, so it's definitely fun with your wife. But I have also been overseas with about a group of 30 or 40 people, which makes it more fun. Yeah, or a little bit more fun, should I say. So
right, man. And the cool part about Vegas is, first of all, there's no curfew on anything. It's you go do whatever you want whenever you want. So that's great for whenever you're racing, because you never know when you're going to get done. And with this many entries, there's always a possibility they might run a certain part of one race, and then I know at the original SFG 500 they just run, like, basically if you won first round, there was 12 hours till the next time or something like that. So you could legitimately go do something and come back.
Yeah, that was the first. I think that was the introduction of the marathon, honestly. Something that needs to be adopted across the board, especially for instances like this. There's no way he's going to cancel buybacks for the big one. And if he's got 500, 600 entries into his big race, it's a possibility that he may need more than one day, or quote unquote run first round and first round buybacks and start the next day with second round where everybody's fresh. That might be a possibility. But I really hope he doesn't have to eliminate buybacks as a whole, even from the 30s, because this is a promoter that I really hope does well with this race. Let's just leave it at that. And having to get rid of buybacks, well, I'd like to see the race be as successful as possible, buybacks included. So.
Well, and for this race in particular, and I know this happens with people at Bristol a lot too, but for this race in particular, I mean, there really is no short way to get there. You know what I mean? Like, even people, like the only person, as far as I know, that didn't have to drive very far to get there is Justin Lamb. And I'm sure he's there, but he has to drive and make up the difference for the whole rest of the year. So right. He deserves to have something right down the road for once.
Give him a little break. Yeah, that's a true statement.
I do have a question, though, talking about those marathon races. And obviously we don't know how many entries are there right now, but it does seem like there's a lot. Drag Racer 4809 over here is saying he hears more than Bristol. And Stevie Dustin says, yeah, it depends on if they're doing groups, things like that. So do you think that this series needs to be, or not series, do you think this particular race may start needing to be capped and say X amount of entries in a pre-entry format?
I would like to say I hope not, very much so. I want this race to remain as is, especially out there in Vegas. It's where you are, number one. It's who's throwing the race, number two. And for that matter, I don't want to see a cap on any race. We just have to be conscious of the fact that either you're gonna have a lot of racers and no buybacks, or you're gonna cap it and be able to get the race through without a hitch.
Well, and in reality, isn't the only reason really to cap a race as far as the decision-making process, isn't the only reason you need to do that is because you have some sort of curfew situation? I mean, surely Las Vegas Motor Speedway doesn't have a curfew. I mean, I've been to Vegas a lot just working and whatnot, and I drove by that place a whole bunch because it's cool looking, but it's in the middle of like the desert, man. Like
Right.
it's the only people that are going to care are the jets flying above it. So,
Right. And I would like to say and hope that there's probably not a curfew, but it's also the big picture, in my opinion, is going to be getting the race over with. If you go into the race knowing it's a marathon, by all means, take the cap off. Just take it off, you know. But if you don't, you gotta cap it, in my opinion. For instance, what do we watch? Bristol? Was it Bristol where Kyle had to
yeah.
cancel? So he didn't know how many people were going to show up there. I think it was
Where-
Bristol, where there was like 700
Peter,
entries.
Peter did.
Or
Peter canceled
yeah,
the
Peter.
buybacks
I'm sorry, I
because
said
there
Kyle.
were so
Yep.
many. Well, that's
So many
because
people.
they couldn't fit them all. Like they couldn't fit any more people in Bristol. I think Vegas has quite a bit more room than Bristol because Bristol's legitimately in like an area that was carved out of the mountain, as far as I know.
Yeah, yeah. I see some comments in the chat over here on the YouTube side. You grab one of those. I think it's Champ over there chiming in, but
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of people over here. Quez, by the way, he was on the show the other day. This is the guy we're talking about right here, Quez the Duck. He says no, don't cap it. Troy's saying can't cap it if it's never reached a million payout. That's
fact.
probably the best answer right there.
Mhm.
Champ says if you start capping it, a lot of people will stay home, and that's probably true as well because, I mean, if like you're just putting one more stipulation on people versus, I mean, Will Holloman told me, he lives down the road from me. Will Holloman told me it was going to take him 34 hours to get there.
Right, right.
You know? And now you say it might be capped too, you know?
Right, right. And I see Michael Beard's post here too. He says cap fields is sometimes also about creating demand that may not exist otherwise. That's a fair statement, you know. In order for us to enhance not the likability, because everybody already likes the flings, you know what I mean?
Right.
But let's
It makes
just
it a
say
luxury item.
yeah, a luxury item or the spectacle. In order to enhance the whole event, we're gonna put a cap on it, and only a select few people are gonna get in. For instance, TB Promotions putting on the Bowling Green race. It's a capped race, right? That bad boy sold out in like 15 minutes, I bet, because they broke the internet fast. I called that before it happened, okay? But it's that type of persona that goes along with that event that says, man, last year it sold out so quick. Man, they got a cap on it again. Guess how many people are going to be sitting by at 12:01 p.m. Eastern time whenever TB opens up the race for Bowling Green next year if he redoes it?
It's like
going to
Troy
break the
said
internet.
here. It creates scarcity and it makes it exclusive.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you were a member of that race.
And
it's kind of like saying you entered the OG million at some point.
I know I ain't never been. Man, I want one of those fling hoodies. I love those fling hoodies, man. I need to get me one of those. I'm gonna have to head on the website and order me one, Peter. I need me one of those. So, definitely, man, definitely.
Yeah, man. Well, I say that we go to a commercial break here real quick and bring our guest Rex Simmermaker in to talk about Winlight bets.
Let's do that. He's on the grounds at the flings, isn't he?
I believe so.
Oh, snap. Hang on, people. We'll be right back. Hit that follow button, hit that share button, hit the like button, and don't go anywhere. We'll be back to talk a little bit more about that fling. Hang in there.
TSR Racing Products has everything you need to make your Power Glide Turbo 350, Turbo 400, and 727 transmissions the best they can be on the street or at the track. With exceptional products, customer service, and over 30 years of experience, TSR Racing Products is always available to help their customers with any of their transmission needs. In-house machining ensures you only receive the best products from TSR Racing. Visit TSR Racing Products at tsr-racing.com or give them a call at 800-394-5889.
BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts are able to provide you with whatever you desire to enhance your drag racing operation. Items like safety belt magnets, nitrous bottle holders, and even quick release delay box mounts are able to be obtained from BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts. Have a look at top selling items such as helmet hooks and steering wheel hooks, which are proven to make it easier to maneuver throughout your race car.
You can contact BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts at telephone number 765-729-1177.
Innovation never sleeps at Proform, and we're making our popular Black Race Series carburetors even better by adding new features that will set them apart from the competition. Some of the newest features include a newly designed main body with contoured Venturas for better airflow and a new inside and outside two-step down leg boosters for increased atomization and better throttle response. Also, newly designed fuel bowls with increased internal baffling for better fuel control and the lower fuel ramp for reduced turbulence. There are also some new upgrades to point out. The fuel bowls now both include nitrofill floats, and the throttle base plate now has slabbed shafts for better airflow. These new features, combined with the fully adjustable high-flow main body with screw-in air bleeds, billet metering blocks, high-performance billet throttle base plate, and aluminum fuel bowls with sight glass windows, makes for a great street strip carburetor that packs a punch.
All right. Welcome back to Going Bracket Racing Podcast. Guys, thanks for joining us. Hit that like button, that subscribe button, the share button, and get ready, because we got one on the grounds there. I'll get him on the screen here in a second. Crew Chief Pro, Ken Jones Performance, Team 14, Syntex Printing, Driven Racing Oil, TSR Racing Products, Proform Parts, Champs Performance, BRG 3D Printed Parts. Thanks to all of you guys for being marketing partners with us here at Going Bracket Racing. And special, if you guys need anything, make sure you hit up one of the few partners that make it happen here at Going Bracket Racing. So we're gonna bring on right now Rex Simmermaker, Mr. Winlight Bets himself. I just had to say that. It's been brewing in me. Rex, what's going on, man?
Gentlemen, good to see you again. How we doing?
Hey, I got no complaints.
So far, so good, man. I mean, you said it yourself at the commercial break. You're the one out there in paradise. You're in the land of having just way too much fun and at the racetrack on top of it. So I don't really know how you beat that type of a vacation, if you can even call it that. I know you're working it.
Yeah, we're working, but yeah, I mean, being in Vegas, and I say it all the time, like, you got to make up reasons to go to Vegas. You know what I'm saying? Just whatever it takes. Just, hey, your neighbor's dog died. Well, let's go to Vegas. I mean, that's a reason right there. Let's do this thing. But for us and Winlight Bets, there was no way we were going to pass this up once we got, we wanted to get going with bracket racing in a big way, right? We had our opener with Lights Out 14, then we went to the World Series of Promont. Those are great heads-up events, but what we wanted to do was showcase bracket racing as well, and what better way to do it than to work with one of the best in the business, Peter Biondo, the Spring Flings. That it's their reputation is unbelievable. It's an iconic event, and then for us, coming to Vegas and bringing sports gaming to our sport, what better place to do it than to kick it off in Vegas? I mean, there's no better place to do it than Sin City. I mean, where the gaming capital of the world, and it's gorgeous. I mean, it's windy, but it's going to calm down, and the rest of the week is just going to be gorgeous. And kind of been a bucket list thing for me for a long time. I have not let go here at the Strip yet, but someday, and I'm getting inching closer to it.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I have two questions that I want to ask you right off the bat. And the first one is, have you heard any word on the car count yet?
Well, just talking to Peter, he said that he believes it's going to be the best car count ever. And so I haven't heard a final count yet, but that was a conversation we had late last night. He thought it was going to be the biggest one ever. So I think that's incredibly exciting. Obviously, why not? I mean, there's a million reasons to load up and to pay your entry fee and come to Vegas. So why not? But I haven't heard the final count, but I know it's up there, and man, there are a lot of cars here. Like, I'm here in the tower. I don't know if you can hear the cars going down the track right now, but yeah, there's really high quality cars here, and there's a lot of them.
in the grand scheme of background noise for the Going Bracket Racing podcast, you can't beat better than race car noise. I know you got a lot of that on the Fast Brackets podcast. Every once in a while, I get blown out of my seat because that's my lawnmower podcast to listen to usually. But another thing I wanted to ask you is, this is the first bracket race you're covering. Like you stated already, you've done a lot of heads up stuff already, or a couple of heads up things with the app. How's the bracket racing side going to differ from the heads up side of things?
Yeah, it's a great question. I appreciate you asking that. The difference is when we do the heads up stuff, there was more stuff we could do in early rounds with the heads up stuff because, there's a 16 car qualified field or there's a 32 car qualified field. Here, when there's, maybe over 500 cars or close to 600 cars, what we're going to do is we're going to push the game a little bit later. So we're going to start in the fourth round. Our Winlight Bets game, where people can download the app for free, play for free, but win real money and prizes. That's going to start in round 4. So let's say you're working or you've just got other stuff to do, or sometimes, I've done this in the past. I didn't tune in until it got to some of the later rounds. We're going to start in later rounds. We're going to start in round 4 and then run it all the way to the final round. So that's one difference. Obviously, there just aren't the number of classes, but that's okay. I mean, it's actually easier to play the game, I think, that way than to have to know every single class, because there are people that are really focused on Pro Mod. There are people that are really focused on maybe Mountain Motor Pro Stock, but aren't then focused on Pro Mod. And then, of course, we have addicts like ourselves that are, all focused on bracket racing. So, I think this is probably better from a focus standpoint. And what we wanted to do, because we heard it early, we heard you cannot bet on bracket racing. Like, I thought it was an odd comment, but I heard it a lot. So we wanted to address that right away in a big way.
Now,
Absolutely.
Is there a way? I thought that there was a way where you would potentially be able to set your own group of friends. Like, say, Rex, Casey, and George want their own group of friends, and we just want to bet amongst each other, not necessarily play against the whole field. Is that a thing yet?
Yeah. So what my developers hear from me all the time, and my crew hears from me all the time, is we're going to crawl, then we're going to walk, then we're going to run. So we're crawling right now with our free-to-play model, and we have not segmented it yet. But you're right, and maybe it's just because you and I talk a lot, but the next step, some of the walking will be, you could carve off a Going Bracket Racing team or a group or a room, and you all could bet in that and compete with each other, as opposed to just in their normal, public sector, I guess, betting. So that's coming. It's not here yet. Keep in mind, this is our 3rd event. We're making it better every single time, but it's not where we want it to be. We're doing it. We're taking feedback. We're getting really good feedback. The people that have played have been really excited about it and really have given us great feedback about, hey, this is what I liked. I really liked the fact that I could be part of the action. I felt like I was part of it. And then, it was the other feedback is like, it's really addicting, man. Like, once I started playing, I wanted to move up that leaderboard and I wanted to get on the top, and I wanted to get that gear. So from that standpoint, to answer your question, it's a no, but we're getting there. So just, what we need and we're hoping is that everybody who's playing, everybody in the drag racing world who's really playing is going to work with us and allow us room to keep developing this thing. Trust me, we're pushing hard to make this thing better and better every single time out. But right now we're in the crawl phase, and it is just one event, so you're going to get in there. Casey, you'll probably be better, but maybe if you don't do very well, you could be in the thousands place. But then if George, maybe he starts winning a little bit and he gets up in the top 10. So that's how it works today.
Cool. And also, I was wondering, and I'm sure you've already thought about this, with the fact that the bracket side of things seemingly has at these mega events, which you would be at, they have free streaming services. so everybody can watch regardless if they have a subscription. Do you expect to have a lot more participation on this versus the was the lights out that you had to have flow racing?
Right. So those first two events that we did were live streamed by Flow, and they've been big fans of what we did. So we're negotiating with them to do more stuff with them. But with this race, Bang Shift is covering it live, so that's great. So people that can watch them, they don't have to have a subscription. Obviously, there's other events that we're going to cover where you don't need a subscription. We think that will obviously help us, but that's the whole point of this. The whole point is people that, like yourselves. I mean, you're on the other side of the country. I can tell you it's not an easy trip going cross country. The 29 hours that we spend in a truck pulling our stuff out there, so that we could put up the big tent and, give a area for the Winlight girls to run around in. That's a long haul. So the whole point of this is so that people watching at home can feel a part of it. And we think that's a difference maker.
And here's a question. Here's a question that'll actually coming from Michael Beard. Isn't it more advantageous to bet against the largest group possible? So meaning in the grand scheme of things, for example, if it's Nick Hastings versus me, and right, Michael Beard bets on me, and every other person that's smart bets on Hastings, and I somehow pull one out, how does that work?
Yeah, so that. Michael Beard's a smart guy, so he always asks.
Yeah, he wouldn't bet
questions.
on me.
Here's what I know about motorsports. I know it is a fool's errand to try to set odds. There are, we're talking about sport where 10,000ths of a second determines the winner. And also there's parts failures and there's all kinds of weird things that happen. So the answer to that is to just go back about 2,000 years, honestly, which is the original form of gaming, which is called pari-mutuel model, which is ultimately what horse racing is. And so in that case, Nick Hastings is going to obviously be the favorite. No offense there, Casey, but he's
I agree.
The favorite.
I might bet on him myself, kind of making a little better on my own odds.
Yeah, right. So he's going to be the favorite, but let's say, and this is, we're forward looking here, right? We're forward looking, but let's say you bet $100 on Nick Hastings, you might only win, depending on how the betting shaped up, maybe you only win $110. But if you bet on Casey, and because you'd be the underdog, you might win $210, depending on how that all shook out. And it's all based on what people ultimately bet on. I'm not setting the odds. I'm just setting a marketplace so that people can bet, and then they will do that automatically with the algorithm. I mean, it's not a complicated algorithm. It's just the same thing that horse racing does.
Wow. Very neat.
So
very neat.
Is it a scenario where, say there's three of us betting, and let's say I bet on me and you guys bet on Nick, and let's say we all bet $10, right?
Sure.
So does that mean that you and George both put in $10, and then I stand to win 20 total, and then you stand to win 5 total because I put 10 on the other side? Is that how it works?
Yes. So let me back up here real quick. So again, this crawl, walk, run situation that we're in. So we're in a crawl mode right now, meaning that it is a free to play model. So everybody can go on their phone right now, and I don't care if it's Android or iTunes or whatever it might be, go to the App Store, type in Winlight. That's it. George has got it. It's so easy. I mean, you can download it in about 20 seconds. Type in Winlight. It's a big red W. You download that thing. It's going to ask you to prove that you're not a bot, right? It's ask you to put in your phone number, and it's going to text you a number, so it proves you're not a bot, because that's an issue out there. Once we resolve that, then it's going to ask you for a nickname, which is good, and then you've got points. So it's free to play. Like, you can load up and play. You actually bet $0. Like, you can't lose anything. But if you get in the top 10, you get gear. And if you are on the top of the leaderboard at the end of the night, so we're going to play games Wednesday night. We're going to play games Thursday night. Both those games are $500 to the winner. On Friday night, the winner's going to get $1,000. All right, on the top of it. The top 10 people in leaderboard get gear, get prizes, get some cool stuff. But the number one person gets real cash money. And then Saturday night we'll do another $500 to win as well. So from that standpoint, just so we're all on the same page. Everybody knows there is no money changing hands today. That is something we are working towards. And what I will tell you, and I'll tell everybody, is that I'm not reinventing the wheel. All I'm doing is following what DraftKings and FanDuel did, which was do free to play, get a user base, and then we move to a legal model after that. Mm-hmm. But your question, Casey, about when we get to the legal model, then we essentially pool all the dollars that are bet and you divvy it up to the winners. That's the simplest way to answer that, is you take all the pools, the handle, and you divvy up the handle to the winners of that. So in your case, if George and I both bet against you and you won, you would take all $30, right?
Awesome.
So, but if George and I bet and Nick wins in that scenario, then George and I both take home $15.
Nice split.
I got you.
That's how that works.
Split. Definitely looking forward to this too. It's the introduction of this to the bracket racing community, Rex, and I can remember. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm a bracket racing fan myself. Hardly will you catch me watching anything that's pro nitrous or any of the other kind of pro mod classes. And the first race you had, I caught myself stuck in the TV set watching some truck pop a wheelie and lose. I won that round, thankfully, but that just to say it, that much of an added entertainment piece to this sport. Do you see this kind of spreading itself into the stands, maybe pulling in spectators a little bit more?
Well, I don't think I'm going out on a limb and saying that people bet on drag racing. I don't think that's I don't think I'm breaking any ground there. Here's what I do know. I do know that when we get this to a legalized model, and it's going to take the drag racing community to be all on board for us to get it to the public sphere. All right, so think about that. We all have to be on board. We all have to be supporting so that we can go to these legislatures and say, hey, this is the user base. These are how many people will bet on this if you allow us to move forward and get it legal. So once the drag racing community is all on board, and I don't have any doubts about that. I think, we all know the direction this needs to go. We all know that this is helpful, but here's what I do know. I do know once we get legal, we're going to get sports bettors that have never been to a drag strip. We will get them adding money to our coffer from that standpoint. And it's not me. I mean, it's all designed to give back to the tracks, to the winners, to make this all better. But I do those because I do a little market research and I talk to people who are gamblers and they're like, wait a second, you can bet and then get paid out in the next 45 seconds. I'm all about that. If you talk to, any gambler, they can barely walk past a blackjack table because they can put their money down and get it back in the next 2 minutes. Wow. And so our sport is going to allow them to do that, and they're going to love it. So we're going to be able to expand the reach of the sport quite a bit. And that's what I'm most excited about. I don't have any desire to make people gamble more. That's not really it. It's about the connection to the sport, and it's about adding a revenue source to the sport that we haven't had ever.
And ultimately the growth of the sport, because the thing that you didn't quite touch on yet also is, for example, there's what do they call them, like the whale type gamblers that they bet, they go to like the back rooms and stuff like that in the casinos, the high roller area. Well, the thing is it not a high roller thing to do to have hired gun drivers and to have these $100,000 race cars that you say, hey, Corey Galletti, come drive this for me. Something like that, Is that not the highest version of what you're doing?
I think the human nature that is out there in all of us says that if there's money to be made, we're going to invest more It's more. I mean, listen, I can just look at this property right now. I mean, people have invested in this stuff, and it's because they think, well, listen, if I do this and I do the right stuff and I execute, then there's a big payout waiting for me. So that is the exact same thing. I mean, it really is the exact same thing. And so, I get mad. I mean, honestly, I get mad. People around me know I will do this, but nobody watches horse racing to watch these animals run around in circles. They only do it because they have money on it. And from our standpoint, like if we had that, we would be light years ahead of. So it's just one of these things where I just think we have to do it. And I mean, I'll say it like this. Recently, the WWE was acquired by the UFC. So that happened this week.
Yep.
There's lots of reasons out there why they did that, but the number one reason why they did it was because the UFC already has gaming rights, and they want to put it under the same umbrella, and they'll do something about like kind of locking in how they do it, but you'll be betting on the WWF before too long.
26 billion or something, wasn't that the number?
Something crazy.
It's a staggering amount, but that part of that agreement was so that it's under the same corporate entity, and it will allow people to bet on WWE or WWF. I don't remember. I stopped watching once Ric Flair retired. I mean, honestly, I do love me some Ric Flair. But anyway, that whole thing is about it, right? That's part of the equation. Part of the equation with NASCAR, putting their sprints in. They've got these sprints, so they do 30% of the race, and whatever they do, shut it off or whatever. They stop the race. They can say it's for a lot of reasons. It's so they can add sports betting. That's it. Wow. And we already have a sport that needs nothing changed. Nothing needs to be changed for us to capitalize on this. The only thing it needs is for us as racers to promote it and to want it. That's it.
Wow.
So we're in good shape.
So I'm going to ask too, you got your sights set on NHRA yet? Because I can see a pretty big fan base is already there. There's a lot of gambling to be done on Top Fuels and Funny Cars.
Yeah, there's nothing to announce yet, George, but what I can tell you is we're in negotiations, and
absolutely
we're having conversations about how that would work for both of us. So I'm optimistic, and absolutely, the second there's something to announce, you can guarantee I'll have it up there. Yeah, we'll talk about it, but it's I'm optimistic.
Awesome. So what do you got going on specifically at the track this week? Because I know you got like your own trailer set up there, and you have your own little casino and whatnot set up there.
So what we have at the track, and we're waiting for the wind to die down, because here it's really windy. Yesterday it was really windy today, but it's died down. Then it's gonna be gorgeous the rest of the weekend. So come on out, guys. You can still catch a flight and get here. But what we do is at the events that we go to, we set up an outdoor drag racing themed casino. And so part of that, what that means is we have a sports book in there. So in this case, we'll have a lounge area that has the big screen set up, and we'll have Bang Shift on, whatever drag racing is on the event that way. Then we have a practice tree, and we have a great simulator, and let people uncork it there and try to challenge their friends or whatever. And then we also have what I'm really excited about is a drag race themed craps table. And so from that standpoint, people can come to the tent. They can either take hits on the practice tree, or they can try the drag race themed craps table, and then they can win points, of which then we'll put it on their app. So you can watch at home, and you can you start with 100 points, and then there's bonus points. So go to the left page, and you can find out all kinds of ways to get bonus points to add to your wallet, so you can go and bet. But if you come to the tent and you're here at the track, then you can do certain things that will bonus you out, kind of like a drag race themed Dave and Buster's, so to speak, right? Instead of cashing out and buying your girlfriend a big furry bear or whatever, you get to put points and put those on your app, and then bet on the action on the track. So it's all designed just to move back to the action on the track. Wow. And we're really excited about the craps table, because it's kind of interesting. we're actually in development now, and it'll be the first drag racing themed board game. And so that's kind of cool too for anybody who's got a junior out there. Casey, your little guy
I'm gonna need it.
Yeah, you're going to need that here soon, but we're excited about that, the progression of that. Just also, it's another market that we can push drag racing out into the Walmarts and the Amazons of the world that way as well. But here at the track, the casino is all designed just to allow people to get a few extra points, so they can put them on their app, and then they can go, bet with those points in their wallet on the action on the track.
And there's one last thing here that you forgot to mention, man. Best losing package first round, $500 each day by Winlight Bets.
Yeah, well, no, I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah, it was when our discussions with Peter, it made perfect sense for us to do something with him in terms of sponsoring something, and that was. It makes perfect sense because who among us hasn't been there at some point in time? We've been licking our wounds with a really kind of a bad beat, and so it was a great opportunity, and we were excited to step up and help. It's not, it doesn't $500 doesn't go a long way anymore when you hit the pump, but it does cover some of that fuel cost, and so that's really good.
Yeah, man, and that's ultimately that's the reason why the Fling Series is what it is, in my opinion, is simply because of the level of giveaways and the amount of giveaways that they give to the racers. You don't necessarily, I'm just looking through this deal because I wanted to see what it was, but fifth round, they're giving 3 sets of slicks away. Fifth round. You know what I mean? They're giving 3 sets of Goodyear tires and then 3 sets of Mickey's the next round. So if you don't like a certain one, go do some wheeling, dealing, trading.
Trade it all.
Well, and like you, I've watched and I've heard so much about it, and now that I'm here, I'm like, man, it's living up to the hype. I mean, it really is. It's living up to the hype. So, can't give Peter and his crew enough credit because they put together just an event that made us, really proud to be involved with.
And the crazy thing is about the Fling is that racers are going to complain. To be honest, I don't know that I have ever heard someone complain about how the Fling was ran.
I'll second that.
That says a lot, right? I mean,
Yeah.
How much does that say? I mean, and we know there are good promoters out there. That's the other thing. We know there are good track operators, but there's always something to complain about if you want to be one of those people. If you want to be somebody that complains, I mean, I'm just not one of those people internally. Like, I just go, it probably doesn't affect me ultimately. Now, the only thing I really got offended about, and I complained a lot about, was when I was coaching. I would complain to the officials a lot. I mean, I would yell at those officials pretty good. But outside of that, I try not to complain. But there's a lot of good people out there that operate tracks and that run events, but this group does it as well as anybody.
I don't buy a Rex. You can't count on your hand how many technicals you've got.
Oh my goodness.
He doesn't have enough fingers.
You don't got enough.
Yeah, I could tell you some stories, brother. I could tell you some stories. Some of them are actually pretty good.
I've got 3 technical fouls. I can remember the day after to go to practice for getting those technical fouls too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's off the record. We'll have a few conversations about that.
Sounds good to me.
But
What else you got, George?
I don't have much else except for, man, I wish I was in Vegas. That's all I got. I mean, I'm gonna use Winlight Bets app to make myself feel like I'm a little bit more of the action, a part of the action.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, right? That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
We're here to help people feel like they're more part of the action.
Yeah.
It's where the whole movie world is going towards. You can't just watch a movie anymore. You got to watch it and then tweet the actors and all that stuff. So it's where the world's going. It's that we're trying to make it so that you feel more a part of it, and we would love it. I mean, I personally would love it if people downloaded the app. Just go to your iTunes or Android store, type in Winlight, download it, get yourself logged in, play this weekend, try to win some of my money. I mean, do that. I'm happy to write checks for the people at the top of the leaderboard, and then, but more importantly, send a message on Facebook, or you can email me directly, rex.simmermaker@winlightbets.com, and just give me some honest feedback, because the whole thing is we're going to get better and better and better at this thing. And so, but we need feedback to do that, because, we like our product, but we need everybody to love it. So that's where we'll stop. We'll stop when everybody loves it, and not until then.
I got nothing else. I'm enjoying that sound. I know.
I'm just going to give you guys a little view of this thing, just for the record, and you can go to Bank Shift and check it out. But there it is. So for everybody. So, anyway, that's that, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate your guys' friendship, and that's first and foremost. But appreciate you just having me back on. You guys have been big supporters of Winlight Bets, and from our standpoint, we're so excited about what we can potentially do to push the sport forward.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate all the extra work that you're doing to do this for everybody, because ultimately it's all of us that are going to benefit from this, from all your hard work. So we appreciate that. For all you guys who haven't, obviously like and subscribe to Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel, Facebook page, podcast. Go and download the Winlight Bets app. And while you're at it, go listen to Fast Brackets podcast, because you never know, old Casey might be on there here in a little bit.
He might be.
I've heard.
For now, guys, as always, we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Thanks for joining in. Have a good one. Good luck out there, everybody out there in Vegas. See ya.